off almost everything else. Plus, you'll save up to 20% on Kenmore appliances. Use your Sears card for an extra 5% off all appliances.
There's always static in it.
And just in time for the holidays, great savings on gifts for the workshop with up to 50% off.
No, it won't fix it. He'll be able to hear you once you put the phone down.
Use your qualifying Sears card for 5% instant savings on any lawn and garden purchase over $299. Or get 24 months no interest on all lawn and garden purchases over $599. Don't miss this huge December family and friends savings event this Monday from 11 until 4 and Monday from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. at your Sears Hometown Store, 977 South 1st Street in Jessup.
WIFO in Jessup. It's now time for the world famous Butch and Bob Show. Bob, go ahead with it.
Again, we're honored to have Senator Isakson on the phone with us. Always a pleasure, Senator. It's been too long, but nice to have you back once again in the world famous Butch and Bob Show. First of all, how you doing? Are you ready for another holidays? And are you ready for another campaign trail? You've already announced to run for another term for office.
Well, first of all, happy holidays to Butch and Bob and all the people in Jessup. It's just great to be with you again. And I appreciate you having me on the show, and I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go home, if you want to know the truth, for Christmas to be with my family. But we actually have had the most productive session of the Senate since I've been here in 11 years. And I'm very proud we're finishing up strong, so I'm glad to stay till the very end and get the work done and then hit the campaign trail next year for re-election.
That sounds like good news. Tell us what is taking place that you're talking about.
Well, to give you an example, the last 6 years under the leadership of Harry Reid as the majority leader in the Democratic Party, we basically passed nothing but continuing resolutions and omnibus bills that didn't directly address problems. This year, under Mitch McConnell's leadership, we've passed the first Trade Promotion Act that's been done in 14 years. We passed the Keystone Pipeline. The president vetoed it, but we put it on his desk. We passed the repeal of Obamacare, which the president will veto, but we put it on his desk. We passed a highway bill for the first time in 17 years that gives you 5 years of predictable funding for highway construction in the country without raising any taxes or any revenues from any source. We put in a new program for our veterans to help prevent suicide, which has been a growing problem in the veterans community, and we made Veterans Choice work to make accessibility to health care greater. And we're finishing up with an omnibus appropriations bill here just in a few days, which is going to end up being good for Georgia and good for America. It's going to help us with our Port of Savannah, where we're in the second year of the dredging, the deepening of that port. So I could go on and on, but those are just some of the milestone accomplishments of this Senate this year in the Congress.
But once again, it's a pleasure to have you on the show again. Appreciate you calling in, and again, always fun to talk to you. So much going on, I really don't know where to begin, but let's begin with the number one topic on everybody's mind, every newscast across America, and that's Donald Trump running for the White House, the GOP nomination. Polls say he's still leading, but the national media is doing everything they can to trash his chances. I mean, they've called him everything from crazy to racist, but his fans show up by the thousands. His poll numbers remain high. Just want to get your opinion. Someone who's been in Washington for quite some time, know the Republican platform better than most. What does Johnny Isakson think of Donald Trump? And if you had to put a percentage number on it, what percentage would you give him for a chance to winning the GOP nomination?
I'll answer the second question first, and that's an impossible question to answer. We've got 51 primaries to take place before the nomination takes place, and a lot of things are going to happen, but he's going to be there till the end and be a contender. I can guarantee you that. Whether he's the nominee or not, that's going to depend on the voters of Georgia and the other 50 primary states and districts around the country. As far as his campaign and his popularity with a lot of the public right now, he struck a responsive chord. I mean, Americans are frustrated and scared. If you saw the President of the United States on Sunday night make his national address of 13 minutes to try and reassure the American people that he was on top of things, it didn't need to do anything but make it worse because he didn't exude any confidence. He doesn't have a plan for ISIL. We see things happen like what happened in San Bernardino, California, or at Fort Hood, or quite frankly in Paris, France, or in Brussels, Belgium. We know that terrorists are on the loose. We know that they're trying to commit jihad all over the world, and we need an aggressive administration in Washington, which is the world's leader in terms of law enforcement. That's the United States of America, to go after ISIL with every ounce of strength that we've got and eliminate them. You can't negotiate with or deal with somebody who'll cut your head off, blow themselves up to kill you, or burn you in the town square. You just got to kill them first.
Is that the plan? I mean, what would you? I mean, how, it is a serious matter, again with the terrorist attack in Paris, now terrorist attack on U.S. soil, the worst since 9/11. What can be done, and how does the United States confront this issue, and how do we take them out?
Well, first of all, you have the best intelligence network in the world, which we do. I mean, it's the fact that we weren't hit seriously after 9/11/2001 until the last couple of months with what's happened is a testimony to our intelligence network to sniff out and find out what people are planning to do to us. But quite frankly, the only thing you can do is declare war on who you're at war with, and we're at war with radical Islam. The president won't admit to that, first of all, but they've declared war on us. And secondly, put together the coalition of the willing in the world, which is far more people than are against us, and get everybody enlisted to contribute their part to going in and demonstrating that we can confront these people and take them out. If they think that we're going to cower in fear, that the terrorists have won. But if they know that we're going to come back after them and try and root them out and eliminate them, then we win. And it's just a matter of that attitude and that execution to do it.
Just joining us, U.S. Senator John Isakson on the phone with us on the world famous Butch and Bob show. I didn't plan to watch the president's speech Sunday night, but I was waiting for my Steelers to play Sunday Night Football when the pregame show got interrupted. So I sat and watched it like most, as you said, not too impressed with what he had to say. But one thing that caught my attention hasn't really been talked about much that I've seen. But in a speech, he made a point to saying that Turkey needs to secure their border with Syria. And I said, wait a minute, we can tell it's just Turkey to secure their border, but we don't secure our own borders here in the United States. Did you pick up on that, and your thoughts on that?
Well, it was typical Barack Obama. The president is a situational speaker. I mean, he takes the situation at the time and adopts his words to try and accomplish what he wants people to believe without thinking about how it may actually conflict with what he's executing as president of the United States. Our borders are porous, and for the president to condemn Turkey or any other country for having a porous border, he needs to look at taking care of his border at home first.
Yeah, the more the investigation continues into those two individuals who pledged their allegiance to ISIS and murdering some people, the more you see the problem of these individuals in our country who take up this cause and commit murders. So how do we prevent such attacks with people already here that pick up this cause? How do we do that?
Well, first of all, we make sure we've got the best intelligence we can possibly have. That's number one. Number two, we don't disarm our country. I mean, people are going to take weapons and they're going to go after you. Then you need to make sure that in every one of the public schools in America, we have a law enforcement officer or a school officer who's armed and able to defend the school and go after anybody who might come in and be a lone wolf. I think the same thing is true everything. And as you know, Butch, if you've been to the Georgia Dome lately or Sanford Stadium or any other major venue in the United States of America, law enforcement has increased. The visibility of law enforcement is a great deterrent to these type of people. They want to take advantage of weakness and ignorance, and we've got to be strong and not ignorant and not weak.
Is the United States in this battle alone, Johnny? Again, it wasn't long ago that ISIS shot down a Russian plane. Everyone's seen the photo of President Obama and Russian President Putin talking to each other at the summit. I'm thinking to myself, here's the plan, get with Russia, get China, get with whoever, and get the world powers to take ISIS out. Is there any chance, are we in this by ourselves, or do we have allies helping us out?
No, we're not in this by ourselves. I'm glad you asked the question. I'm Swedish by heritage, and Sweden is one of the greatest contributors in the war in Afghanistan right now. I was there 2 years ago when they brought 12 Black Hawk helicopters from the United States to provide medevac operations for our troops in Afghanistan. I think the French proved in what happened in Paris that they're ready, willing, and able and capable of responding to any type of attack like that. The sweeping of Brussels, Belgium, and the closing of Brussels, Belgium, and the way they tied that city down and the threat of terrorism demonstrate they're ready. I think the world community of peace-loving people and democratic societies is ready to join together to take on these guys and get them. But they've got to have us as the leader. The United States is the foremost military power in the world, the foremost example of democracy in the world. But if we sit on the sideline and won't even identify our enemy as radical Islam or want somebody else to do the dirty work, then we're not going to be a leader. And we're unintentionally, I'm sure, but passively allowing the terrorists to grow.
As you mentioned, radical Islam, everybody mentions that except the president. Why will he not identify what the situation, what the problem is? Why do you think he's so dead set against not calling it Islamic terrorism?
I don't know, because you'd be interested to know that Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States of America, was the first president to mention radical Islam in a speech in Washington. The Barbary pilots were Islamic terrorists who were going after the coast of Africa, sinking ships of European countries and the United States of America as far back as Thomas Jefferson. He wasn't afraid to do it. The terrorist issue, Facebook posts, Twitter posts, and all kind of posts declaring war on America as the great Satan and declaring themselves as America's enemy. It is clear as a bell that everybody in the world understands and knows, except Barack Obama, that radical Islam is the enemy that we're fighting, and their philosophy is the philosophy we've got to destroy.
You know, a big part of their strategy is just inflict fear to the American public, and there is a lot of fear out there when you see what happened out in California. So how do you stress to Americans not to live in fear, that still go on their daily routines, continue to travel, continue to go to places when you see things like this happen? How do you battle that?
I tell them three things, and I'll start with the meeting I had with my family over Thanksgiving. We sat down around the Thanksgiving table, and I told them, I said, you know, with what I see in Washington and what we've all seen happening, I want y'all to do three things for me. Don't cower in fear that there might be a terrorist attack, but be vigilant to be aware and report anything you see that just doesn't look right, number one. Number two, recognize that if you cower in fear, you're surrendering to the terrorists and they've won the battle. You don't want to give them a victory by cowering in fear. And third and foremost, remember that our country is the greatest democracy in the world, and if we cower in fear and we hide from it, we'll recede and we will no longer be the greatest country in the world, and I don't want that to ever happen to my kids or my grandkids.
And if you're just tuning in to get U.S. Senator Johnny Isakson, our special guest on the world famous Butch and Bob show, 13 candidates right now on the GOP field. When do you see it narrowing, and how do you see this playing out? Do you have a favorite, or are you backing anybody in particular?
Oh, you know, I'm on the ballot in 2016. I learned a long time ago the dumbest thing for me to do would be to pick a horse early and pick the wrong one, and then I got to ride them to the barn with not being the nominee. So I'm going to support everybody as they come to Georgia, do everything I can to get them as much visibility as possible, and let the people of Georgia and the other primary states pick the nominee of the Republican Party. But to your first part of that question, the watershed vote is going to be the SEC primary, when the 5 southern states who've joined together, Georgia being one of them, hold their March primary. That Georgia, South Carolina have a lot of electoral votes. South Carolina has been a benchmark state after New Hampshire and Iowa in terms of the direction of Republican nominations, going all the way back to George H.W. Bush. So I think in mid-March we're going to see a lot of breaking of the numbers, and they'll start to shrink because of that SEC primary.
You're not going to tell us who you're back in, but let me ask you this question. The fear by most Republicans is that Hillary Clinton's going to wind up in the Oval Office. Are you confident whoever the Republicans choose, they'll be able to defeat Hillary Clinton?
I'm confident that if we as Republicans can nominate the best candidate possible, and those that don't get their nominee nominated rally behind that person, and we become a united party, then we can defeat Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders or anybody else who may be the Democratic nominee. The honest answer to your question, Butch, and I know you know this because you've watched Georgia politics and national politics, is Republicans have famously for years fought over their nominee, and then when their nominee didn't get the nomination, they go home and stay home and not be unified, while the Democrats would fight like hell. But when the nominations were over, they'd get in one big tent, hold their nose, and work together to win the White House. More often than not, they won because of their unity. So as Republicans, we've got to be unified behind whomever those that vote in the Republican primaries nominated. And I, for one, am going to be a leader of hopefully the whole band, telling folks, let's come together, let's be united, because the only way we're going to win is to get to 50% plus one. And the only way you're going to do that is to have everybody of a like mind and things like we do turning out and voting for the Republican nominee.
As you mentioned, you're coming home to Georgia. I know you're a big diehard Georgia Bulldog fan like myself. Got to get your thoughts on the stuff going on in Athens, Georgia. Rick gone, Kirby Smart coming in. Your thoughts on that?
You know, Mark Rick's one of the finest human beings I've ever had the chance to meet. He had an unbelievable winning percentage at Georgia, 77%, biggest winning percentage in Georgia coach, including Vince Dooley. Changed a lot of lives for the better, was a great role model for kids, and I wish him the very best. I'll miss him, but I'm going to be just as supportive of Kirby Smart as I have been of Mark Rick. Kirby was a proven guy. He was a proven athlete at the University of Georgia. He's been proving himself in Nick Saban's situation for 8 years as head defensive coach. I'm sure he'll be great, and I just hope that all of us in the Bulldog Nation will rally behind Mark Rick as he goes and wish him the very best and thank him for his service, and then turn around and support Kirby Smart the way we supported Mark Rick for so many years, and Vince Dooley.
Education always a big topic, nationwide and statewide. Anything going on there? Any important news coming up?
You're fortuitous in your mentioning that, because just yesterday the president enrolled the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, which is a 13-year act that's been in the waiting in the wings to reform and reauthorize the Elementary and Secondary Education Act for K through 12 around the country. And it's a great bill because it reduces the federal role, takes the Common Core out of the federal mandate to schools, leaves local boards of education and the state boards of education in charge of education, but makes sure that our poorest kids in free and reduced lunch, our kids with the most needs and who are handicapped or have special needs, have the services they want. But it's a great reauthorization. It's the first time in history that every governor of every state, both the teachers unions and all the local boards of education have all endorsed the Elementary and Secondary Education Act that we passed. So we brought education and educators together. I think we're going to empower them, and our kids will be better off because of it.
And I always ask you about the update on the port in Savannah. Again, it's important for this area, and I know you're hands-on that project. Where do we stand on that?
Well, thanks to the leadership of the entire delegation, we were able to get the Savannah Port expansion in the WIA bill and the workforce bill here a couple of years ago. We got the first federal funding, a smidgen of funding, $25 million to start, and then got Governor Nathan Deal, to his credit, brought in the state's $228 million share to start the project, which is now underway and dredging is taking place. And the president's budget for 2017 will have to include a $60 to $100 million appropriation for the remaining 4 years each year for the remaining 4 years of construction. But we're well on the way to having a port that's 47 feet deep that can take the biggest ships coming through the Panama Canal in 2016 and help Georgia continue to be what Georgia is today, and that's one of the leading ports of commerce in the world.
Again, I know you knew Jack Kingston for many years. He was our congressman. We got a new congressman up there, Buddy Carter. Just wondering if you have any interaction with him and your thoughts on Buddy Carter.
Buddy's doing a great job, and I've had a lot of interaction with him. We work together on a lot of things. In fact, I can't tell you what it is, but in about a week and a half, you're going to hear a great announcement about an addition in the greater Savannah, Chatham County area that we've worked together with Buddy on. It's going to be a great announcement, but I can't talk about it until it actually happens. But he's doing a great job, working hard. Of course, Jack Kingston was one of the great members of Congress of Georgia of all time. I'm having a cup of coffee with Jack at 3 this afternoon. He's still working hard for Georgia, and I'll pass on your best wishes, Bob.
I appreciate it. And one final comment. I know you got a lot of friends in this area. Any chance that you're coming to the Wayne County area anytime soon? I heard word that you might be here when they have the big opening of the new Odom school. Is that correct?
I don't ask me to commit on my schedule. I find out what I'm going to do today at 5 o'clock yesterday. And they don't show me beyond today and don't show me before today, but I know I'll be in Wayne County and Jessup, Georgia a lot. I've got a lot of friends like Butch and Bob, Joe Arardi, and the other folks down there, Civil Bar, and I want to come down and see y'all as soon as possible. I can't commit that that's the date, but I do know that Wayne County is already on the agenda.
Okay, Senator, again, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and again, we appreciate you being on the show immensely. Again, people thoroughly enjoy hearing what you have to say, and again, a lot going on, so again, you're welcome anytime, and again, wish you and your family nothing but the best. Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas to Butch and Bob and everybody in Jessup, Georgia and Wayne County.
Okay, once again.
Thank you very much, Senator.
Senator Johnny Isakson, again, our special guest here on the world famous Butch and Bob show. Again, always a pleasure to hear what you have to say. With a lot of issues, always entertaining and very informative. So appreciate him calling in.
Yeah, many times when we get the senator on the air with us, it's their office that calls us that says, it's been a while since Johnny's been on y'all's show. Senator Isakson is what they call him, of course, and we'd love to have him back on. Like I said, many times Senator Isakson would just say, hey, we need to get back on the Butch and Bob show, and about once a quarter, he'll be on here with us talking about the goings on up there. Now, we can just get the other senator to do it now.
I don't need to commit a schedule, but I did hear on good authority that when they do have the grand opening of the new school, that he most likely will be on hand for that event. So
well, that would be fantastic if Senator Isakson can be there for the official ribbon cutting of the Odom Elementary School. That would be good. We appreciate the senator calling in.
He's good friends with Joe Roddy, but he's partial to Gina. Gina's the principal, so I think he's already made that promise. So.
Yes, sir.
So it'll be good to have him on hand for that day, but I'm sure if he fits in the schedule, he'll be on hand for that event. But I didn't mean to. I thought he already knew that, so I don't know.
Well, and that's the way it is a lot of times with our elected officials, especially at the national level, as they have, and as we well know, you really rarely talk to them for scheduling. They have staff that does that. And so many times they don't know where they're going.
Something could come up at that time too, so you just don't ever know.
Oh yeah, something come up in Washington where he has to be there. You never know.
I was saying best laid plans sometimes just don't work out.
Yeah. So I appreciate Senator Isakson calling in this morning. And on your newscast this morning, they reported that there's been an arrest and that shooting. Is that correct? There at the apartment complex here in Jessup a couple nights ago.
Yeah. They get an arrest, but they don't think he's involved in the shooting.
Oh, okay.
Just at the vehicle.
Okay. All right.
They're still looking for the shooters.
Okay. Was that a breaking and entering? They did actually break in
3 a.m. in the morning.
And they just broke the door or whatever it was. I've heard different people make comments about it.
Calling it a home invasion.
Home invasion is what they're calling it. Okay. All right. Well, the police are on top of that. And of course, if you have any knowledge about what happened, the police department, Jessup Police Department or Wayne County Sheriff's Department, I'd love to hear from you if you have any information on that shooting that took place a couple nights ago. Someone told me that when the gunshot was fired, it went through a wall and grazed the kid. That the kid wasn't actually being shot at; it was adult, and it just one of those weird things. Is that what you've heard?
They've not given any information.
They've not given any information. Well, someone would just tell, because you know how things are. You don't know, and that's the reason why we try to be careful with that kind of stuff.
They don't give that kind of information.
No, they don't give it out. No, officially they don't give it out. But you know how folks are; they're going to talk about it. So someone was mentioning that to me yesterday. So I just didn't know if we can talk about stuff to what we hear, but in our newscast we want to put on there what's official from the police department.
Common sense tells you they're not shooting at a 3-month-old child.
Right.
They went in there dark. It was dark. Lights weren't on. They just went in there, started shooting, and 2 people got shot, and one happened to be a 3-month-old child.
Yeah.
Fortunately, it was not life-threatening, but it is listed in stable condition still at the hospital in Savannah.
All right. Okay, and anything else from your newscast this morning we need to highlight here during the world famous Butch and Bob show in case folks were sleeping at that time?
Just a lot going on this weekend. I said Scribben's Christmas parade set for Saturday. So.
4:30, but they got activities going on in Scribben all day long. They've got that antique car show all day and other activities. So it's just not a parade. There's so much more to it than that. So get on down to Scribben this Saturday for all their Christmas festivities along with a parade that starts at 4:30. It's going to be fun in Scribben. Okay. All right. Any comment that you received yesterday from Bob Smith and Jerry Jones with their challenge coming up this Saturday?
Just people thought it was pretty funny. That was comical.
It was comical. If you ever want to hear a Butch and Bob show, you can just go to our website at bigdogcountry.com, and go to the Butch and Bob show link, and you'll see one's archived in there, along with and then you can go to the news side and click on news and hear the archived newscast and things of that sort. Remember, if you ever have any comments or questions for us here during the world famous Butch and Bob show or any other time, you can always text those to us at 912-427-3711, 912-427-3711. And let's see here. Someone just said it's smoky between the river and Ludowici. So don't think it's morning fogs. There must be some woods being burnt out there. So if you're going between the river and Ludowici, you want to be a little careful. Folks are saying a little smoky out there this morning. So get those headlights on if you're going through that smoke and on low beam, and just be careful. Didn't see any fog this morning, so it must be some burning going on over there in the woods, there in the swamps between the river and Ludowici. And we appreciate people doing stuff like that. They will text in to us in the mornings like this when we're talking about different situations they see out there around the area. People get excited about the cash can, Bob. Let me tell you, I get questions every single day. Where is the Butch? What does that clue mean? What does that clue mean? I'm intentionally stay in the dark. I don't know where it's at. I like playing along too. Trying to think. Okay, there's a clue. Now, where would that be? I love playing along too, but. Folks are excited about it, Bob.
Be nice to get right before Christmas.
Yes, sir. $1,055 out there somewhere. Oh, my Lord. The text just started coming in. Okay, let's see here. A friendly reminder that Santa and Miss Claus will be tonight at the hospital's shop at their shop right there in the lobby from 5 to 8 p.m., 20% off all items and light refreshments. So bring your camera and the kids. That's tonight or late this afternoon, however you want to take a look at it. From 5 to 8 p.m., Santa and Mrs. Claus will be there at the gift shop and the lobby of Wayne Memorial Hospital between 5 and 8. Bring your camera. They'll have light refreshments and 20% off the items there in the gift shop, Bob.
That's on the local news.
Yeah, that was on the local news. But we're going to remind, I think Jill just put that in, so we're going to remind them again. You can't remind people enough. They're like me, you forget stuff. Let me tell you, I do that all the time. I say, how in the world did I forget that? How did I forget that? All right, I guess from what you've said there, Kirby Smart's out there recruiting right now, even though he's still coaching the defense for Alabama before they can play the game.
He's not in Alabama. He's in the state of Georgia recruiting. So, the game against Michigan State's all the way to January.
So he's just taking care of this first before that.
He's doing Georgia business right now. So, yeah, the main thing is you got to put a staff together, and they're kind of keeping it hush hush. Who's coming, who's not coming. But they did announce that Schumann guy's coming, the director of player personnel from Alabama. They swear the strength and conditioning coach is coming also from Alabama, and more may be coming from Alabama, but they can't really say much because Alabama's getting ready for their big matchup with Michigan State.
So I would assume that you see that when a head coach leaves, but why is it when a coordinator leaves that so many coaches want to leave Saban and his winning organization there to go with an assistant coach to another school? Do you know why? Why they do that?
It's called loyalty and friendship.
To a person, okay? Not to the program, but to a person, huh? Okay.
It's all about relationships and personalities, and that's why Thomas Brown's staying. Him and Kirby Smart played together, know each other, and so Thomas Brown, the running backs coach, is definitely staying on the staff. So he's the only person so far they said staying on the staff. Everybody else out looking for a job. So
resumes are being sent out as we speak, huh?
But as we say all the time, it's a fraternity, and they're all in somewhere.
Oh yeah, they'll just musical chairs.
Yeah, they just move from one school to another. So be interested if Mark Richt takes any of the staff with him down to Miami, and haven't heard any of that yet. So it'll all play out after the first year, after the bowl games are over. Then you'll see everybody get set for the upcoming season. But it's good to see Kirby out recruiting heavily, for the University of Georgia, because they say that's one of his strong qualities. He's just a great recruiter. Another reason why they want him to be the head coach. Okay. That's important. He's a hometown guy. Grew up in Bainbridge, and I said played at Georgia. He's coming back home. He's excited. I'm sure he's going to put together a good staff. He's the best well-known assistant coach in America.
Oh, yeah. That defense for Alabama has been outstanding the last several years.
Sure, the defense is going to be rock solid. The question is, who's the offense? What type of offense it's going to be? He hasn't really said much about that. There's still rumor mill that he may bring Lane Kiffin with him from Alabama. Other people say he won't. So only time will tell.
Okay. And as you mentioned in your sports, the Georgia Southern Eagles are going to their very first bowl game out there in Mobile, Alabama. Going to play who again? Bowling Green.
Very good football team.
Okay, so Georgia Southern going there. I mean, Southern fans still are just shaking their heads. I mean, how could they play Georgia, put them into overtime, and lose there and just get dominated by a new program, Georgia State University out of Atlanta? I mean, they still shaking their heads, Bob. How did that happen? Yeah, they're just sitting there saying, man, we played all these great games. We beat all these good teams, or just about beat Georgia. And we just, in our own house, we got dominated. You just see the expression of the diehard Southern fans, like, how in the world did that happen? No one expected it at all, especially Georgia Southern fans. They just got outplayed. That's just what it was. That's what I can say. Apparently, Georgia State University guys wanted it more than the players for Georgia Southern.
It happens. Every now and then your program lays an egg.
We've seen it many times. Yeah,
you've been around it long enough, so
yeah,
just chalk it up to Blue laid an egg.
They just laid an egg, a big old egg. Well, at least it didn't affect them going to a ball game. I've already heard some Southern fans getting their tickets together and making plans to go to Mobile, Alabama for the ball game. I know they've all got to be excited about it because it's the very first one for Georgia Southern. They moved up to the Sun Belt Division. All right, any other words of wisdom this morning, Bob, before we wrap up the world-famous Butch and Bob show?
Yeah, just glad Johnny called in. I said, thought it was very informative. Always good to hear what the senator has to say.
Yeah, Senator Isakson called in on the Butch and Bob Show. We really appreciate him doing that. All right, Bob, have a good day. All right, the world famous Butch and Bob Show brought to you.